When Hamilton County Assistant Prosecutor Melissa Powers took the stand, Joseph Paul Franklin began looking tense. Powers is the woman who got Franklin to admit on audio tape that he Dante Evans Brown and Darrell Lane.
I did it. I just, the only thing I can say is I did do it.
And can you also tell me why you did it?
I was trying to get rid of all the ugly people in the world.
Okay.
And
why did you select?
I consider the blacks the ugliest people of all.
The victim's family listened to the confession, hearing Franklin describe in a casual, even cold way how he boys.
I just put the gun right on the biggest dude first, and fired one shot with that 44 Magnum. And so, I just heard somebody make a sound like like they just got shot, And as soon as the other guy bolted, it was just like through a miracle that I got him, man. I did not even aim the gun at him, man. As soon as he heard that shot, he just bolted and started running, and I aimed the gun without even, just in the dark there, just hoping that I would get a lucky shot and hit him, And sure enough, it actually got him, man.
What exactly is this thing that we call racism, white supremacy? Looking at why do white people behave in the way that they do. You see, in concluding that it has to do, number one, with their minority status on the planet, their genetic recessive status, in that they could experience genetic annihilation, in that the overwhelming majority of people on the planet are black, brown, red, and yellow. And whites constitute fewer than 1/10 of the people on the planet.
We cannot bring them back. Dr. Tauber said of the estimated 20 million civilians who died in Nazi labor and concentration camps. Whereas I'm not an invited scholar nor a petitioner to attend the Tauber Institute at Brandeis University. I've been a student of anti-Semitism in Europe and the destruction of the Semites of the Jewish religion since the mid-1950s. Throughout that time, I remained convinced that the treatment of the Semites of the Jewish religion in Europe and in America was intimately related to the gradual destruction of black people, as well as the millions of native peoples found in the Americas by the immigrating whites from Europe, a pattern which continues to the present. Further, I was convinced that the final solution for the Semites in Europe was associated with the atomic bomb solution for the Japanese peoples in World War II, and that the anti-Semitism of Europe and America was intimately related to the apartheid of Southern Africa and to the historic pattern of treatment or mistreatment of all of the peoples classified as non-white or non-Aryan people by the people who classified themselves as white or Aryan. So start the video off. Can't think of the guy's name right now, but he's labeled as a racist serial killer. And you saw in the video how he said, how he explained what he did, and he explained why he did it. He said his mission was to get all of the ugly people off of the earth. And he considered black people as the ugliest people. And he had a drive and a need to eliminate black people because he felt that they were inferior and ugly. So this is just an example of what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing is talking about in her book about white people who subscribe to white supremacy, their drive to prevent genetic annihilation. Black people are ugly. Black people are inferior. Ultimately, what he's saying is black people are the biggest threat to our genetic survival, according to the Crest theory. All right. So let's dive back into it. So she goes on to say, one of the serious flaws in Western logic, thought, and scholarship is the failure or inability to see things as a whole. Rather, the tendency is to perceive fragmented abstractions that are never united as one. And so she's saying that because she believes that, as I read earlier, that all of these patterns of catastrophic behavior, terroristic behavior, that's what I want to say. All of these patterns of terroristic behavior are linked. They're all related. They're all related to a specific drive, a specific need. They're not isolated events. If you look at them as isolated events, you will miss the overall picture. You're missing the whole forest because you're concentrating on the tree. The united field theory, what I talked about a couple videos ago, when she talked about a couple chapters ago, the united field theory, what Einstein was getting at, that everything is connected. So if everything is connected, everything within the system of white supremacy is connected to the mindset, the thought, and the drive to prevent genetic annihilation. All right. So she also goes on to say, this pattern of thought is sharply contrasted to the Eastern mode of thinking and perception that begins with the perception and analysis of the whole, so as to place in accurate perspective any parts of fragments which may be isolated from the whole. The focus on the destruction of the Semites of the Jewish religion as an abstraction outside of the context of the totality of the historic Western civilization and cultural imperative, the past 2,000 years at least, explains why there has not been to date a comprehensive understanding of the Semitic destruction in Europe from 1933 to 1945. Indeed, the Tabor Institute at Brandeis University will not find the answers it seeks. The $800,000 grant that they have, notwithstanding at the time, with the limited historical perspective of only 150 years of history of Semites in Europe. So what she's getting at from her, from the conclusion of her studies, is what happened with Adolf and them during that time in that place in the Holocaust. All of that happened. She is saying that she believes it's connected to the overall fear of white genetic annihilation, because the Jewish people are considered, or Jewish people are Semites. And because they are Semites, that means they're classified as non-white. And if white people classify them as non-white, then in her opinion, they will also be targets. And hence, that's why she's saying everything is connected. That's why she's saying you can't look at the destruction of the Caribbean, the natives in the Caribbean, or the natives in the Americas, or the natives throughout the Americas, or the destruction of what happened to people in Africa when Europeans showed up, or even what happened in the Holocaust, what happened with apartheid, like all the things that you can see globally that had a white hand in it, and the destruction of all non-white people. She's saying it is all connected. If you are considered non-white, then you would be a threat. And if you are a threat, then you have to be eliminated.